and then you join that week's onboarding session or something. So
Yeah.
like we still do a kind of live handholding for anybody new.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just trying to think it through. Like, also because I find it so interesting that we've gone such radically different ways with our courses. Like yours is this like 2-day intensive on a weekend. Mine is like 5 weeks self-paced with like, they're just like the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm just trying to figure out, what do we want this course to be? And that is both, like, we have the one question, which is like, what's going to be most effective for the students? But the other question is like, what do you and I want? Like, what's going to fit in our lives best?
For sure. Yeah. What's up, Colin?
Hello.
Good to see you.
Hey.
Yeah, you too.
Have you been on the calls before?
I have not. I was just getting caught up on your YouTube channel. Discovered all the previous ones, and super interested in what you guys are doing.
Yeah, the raw, uncut YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, I love it.
That's great. What's your background on?
Currently, I'm working in digital strategy at an agency called Wheelhouse DMG in Seattle.
Okay.
And prior to that, I was with Merkle and RKG in the SEO team.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really cool. So do you work with people who use Figma quite a bit?
We're really starting to use it at Wheelhouse and exploring new ways to use it. So that's really what piqued my interest in what you guys are doing.
Yeah, that's so I'm curious, like, if who sort of introduced Figma like to Wheelhouse?
Yeah, good question. So we come across it in doing some website redesigns and some UX work. Both, I guess, internally, people were using it a little bit, and then did a project with a client, and one of their UX designers was using it in a lot of interesting ways, and we started adopting it and moving over work from like Miro into Figma, and yeah, that just seems like a really good way to introduce more complex concepts. I know you were referencing in some of the materials I've seen so far that it's just more interactive and a lot more opportunities to walk people through processes and bigger ideas than a standard PowerPoint format.
Yeah, it's kind of like fungi in a way, where it kind of starts to grow in one area of a business, and then all of a sudden you realize it can work in a lot of different ways. And
yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Yeah, today we're kind of chatting through what we're wanting to come to, kind of an idea around like a beta workshop. And so we're thinking through format for that. And maybe, Tom, like, maybe it's like we just set aside what could this be, and then maybe the beta workshop will kind of help us figure out, like, what do we enjoy, what is the best sort of like curriculum anyways that people really want to, like, how are we able to teach, and how are students learning, that might inform us how we structure it. And so the beta is just kind of like, well, here's 4 or 5 topics we can cover, and we can kind of get through all of it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe unlike so I ran a beta for my SEO MBA course, well, actually 3 betas for the first course. But I feel like I already went into those betas with a pretty good sense of like what the curriculum was, what the structure was going to be. So it was like I already had a lot of like things kind of figured out, or things that I thought were figured out. With this one, I feel like there's still a lot of different directions we could go in, which is kind of why like doing a beta will probably give us a lot of just inputs to figure out some of those things.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I kind of want to get to it fast, I guess, is because we can sit here and noodle on these questions all day long, but I think we'll learn a lot by just putting it out there and seeing what happens. So for Colin and Jonathan, we were just chatting about there's kind of what's best for students, but then it's also like what's best for Nate and I. Like, how do we want to fit this into our lives? Like, you know, doing a self-paced course is like the ultimate in terms of like, we don't really have to do anything week to week. It's not a big time drag after the initial, you know, work, but it's probably kind of least effective in a way, right? So like, there are ways to mitigate that. All on the other end of the spectrum is like a full-on, like, you know, live cohort, but then we have to kind of hustle to get signups and run them in amongst all the other stuff that we do. Yeah.
True. But maybe this becomes a major thing of what we do too. So who knows?
Well, that's also, yeah. I mean, then maybe we're thinking too small. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the start of us building a Figma empire. I don't know. I do think there's something interesting. You alluded to this before, Nate, about making the price point premium enough such that the course has this kind of like elevated quality that I think is actually really interesting. Because so like the SEO MBA, for example, I have a premium price point because I feel like there's nothing else that teaches those skills on the market, right? So I have a kind of cornered positioning. The Figma Thinkers course has a different cornered positioning, which is like actually learning Figma is a commoditized thing. You could go on YouTube and learn Figma. You could like watch a tutorial. You could just fuck around yourself. And so what we have to bring to the table is something very kind of distinctive. Like, that's where I feel like we have to make the whole experience like differentiated, interesting. Like I think Rite of Passage from David Perel is like that kind of like, you know, yeah, sure, you could like write, you could there's other courses to learn how to blog. You could just start blogging yourself, but you choose Rite of Passage because it has this like brand and like opinionated approach kind of thing. And I think if we can cultivate the same kind of thing, then we could have people taking the course who maybe even actually use Figma fairly heavily, but they still want to kind of join a cohort and like be part of the cool thing, like, you know.
Yeah, Colin, I'm kind of curious, how have you used Figma yet at Wheelhouse, like yourself, or?
Yeah, I have, and still learning. I'm certainly not the most advanced user, but just trying to figure out new ways to use it, because it does seem like there's so much opportunity. When we've walked through things with people, I think there were some reservations about like, is this a good way to present it? And so far, people have really resonated with being able to move through a larger diagram and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. What's up, Jonathan? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. One thing I was curious about is, and because I kind of, you know, started last week, so I didn't hear some of the like very early discussions, but in my mind, one of the things that's really powerful about Figma is the collaboration functionality, and you get a lot of value by participating in it as a team. So I'm wondering have you guys thought about the idea of kind of pitching this as a team exercise, like something that either like a team does together, or, you know, some of the homework is really intrinsically collaborative, where you say like, hey, okay, like take this and find somebody and like do this exercise that involves collaborating with somebody else. Because I think that is a hook that you can watch YouTube videos by yourself, but you're not going to watch YouTube videos with your coworkers. So I don't know, maybe that's like a distinctive way to pitch it and really like pull out the some of the really unique value of Figma.
Yeah, that's cool. I'd love a kind of corporate package, right? So it's like sign up as a team and deliberately work through this together with collaborative exercises and so on. Like, yeah, totally.
I mean, just as an experiment, like what if you, like to Jonathan's point, like what if you led with teams? Like that was, you could do this by yourself, but that's actually, you know, maybe for like the indie or whatever, but like maybe we actually like build this so it is for teams. So we are encouraging 2+ people to sign up from the same organization. And
Or
that's
like a buddy pass system where it's like,
Yeah.
get the course and you get one person for free to
yeah,
like come do it with you.
that's super.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as well. Yeah, when you sign up, you get assigned a buddy, and then you have like it's like a cohort within a cohort, almost like a mini cohort.
Right.
I mean, what's interesting about that is you could also do I think I've seen this somewhere. It's like you could do a self-paced course, but where you sign up and actually you still get given a cohort.
Mhm.
And it just happens to be people that have signed up recently with you. But it's still mostly kind of self-paced videos and exercises, but like you're encouraged to like get on Zoom together and go through the exercises together.
I guess part of the framing of this that, is what I was thinking about, you guys may have already talked about, but for me, courses that have been really compelling have like a clear like deliverable or like an end result, like a new identity at the end of it. It's like, you are this, or you have done this. One of the first ones I ever did was like a partnership course. And it was like, you will have your first partnership by the end of the 60 or 90 days. Like that's our commitment to you. As long as you do everything that's in the course, you'll have this. So I guess I'm curious whether or not it's how you like publicly frame it. Is there a kind of deliverable that you guys have in mind for people like, you will, I'll just leave it open ended. Is there something that you could offer as a hook to say like, you will get to do this? Because I think in some ways, for rite of passage too, it's like the accountability is the value. It's like, like I've been meaning to watch Figma YouTubes and I should do that, but I know that if I pay this amount in this time, I will accomplish X, or I will be X. So I don't know. Do you guys have that?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week. This kind of like these like project outcomes. So like, the first week is like super simple, which is like design a LinkedIn banner, right? Because everyone has one of those, and it's like nicely bounded. But then you work up to like, building a slide deck template, building a website mockup, and then we had this kind of almost open-ended week 4 of like make something, because it'll be different for different people.
Right.
But I think this kind of outcome or like output oriented course is definitely appealing. What would you want to come out of it with? Like, what would be exciting to you?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to figure out is I think those are all good things that would be valuable in the process, but I wouldn't necessarily come to the course thinking like, I want a LinkedIn banner or,
Sure.
that kind of thing. So I think it does kind of come back to that like week 4 project. And I guess that's kind of where I'm trying to like take a step back, and it's like, what's the job to be done for Figma? Like, what are people coming to Figma? Like, why do they want Figma? And that, I guess part of the reason I'm asking too is I think it forces you into more audience focus to say like, okay, this group wants this group wants that. So, you might be able to narrow the target of who this is for. If you say like, okay, salespeople want decks. They want great decks that they don't have to go to designers for. Marketing people want their marketing assets. They want total control without having to like go to an internal creative team. So I don't know that I have a great answer. I think for me, it would be, the 2 projects I'm using Figma for are like working on new website ideas for like my personal or business website. And then also, like marketing materials, like, coming up with decks or presentation assets. So,
You were chatting, I was thinking about this, like, what if we position this as like a personal design library or something, like, which is kind of like named, but it's still actually under the hood lots of different things. It could be a sales deck template if you're a salesperson. It could be a personal branding system if you have your own website. It could be a set of templates if you're like a social media manager, and like you need to grab and reuse things. Like, but like, because I think one of the, when I use Figma and when I talk about using Figma with other people, I think they don't know where to start often. And one of the ways that I always start is by copying something else that I've done before.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my personal design library, is like just a bunch of components and things, not actual components, but just bits that I've done previously, like
yeah.
that I can kind of grab and start from. And so I think that could be a kind of nice output of the course, of like, you'll come out of the course with this personal design file.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, I think thinking about marketing positioning, like identity is so powerful. And so the idea of like, you will be design literate at the end of this, or, you know, you'll be able to like, you know, I think saying like you will become a graphic designer, like that's too much, but like, you know, like you will be able to like interface. I mean, that was actually what originally got me into Figma, was that I was able to be in the loop with my product team. Because before it was just like, I would get them too late. You know, it's like, we already shipped it, or, you know, here's the build, like test the build, but like everything has been decided. Getting to like be involved. And that's part of the, you know, again, why the team hook is like accelerate your team's feedback loops, or like be a like more responsive, supportive, inclusive team by like using Figma. Like maybe the value pitch is around the interactions between the group more so than like what each individual gets.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Work faster together. Yeah.
Right, work faster together.
Yeah. And work deeper. I mean, I think it's like speed, but it's also like it's not just pace. It's like there's a richer understanding.
Yep. Yeah, I like this. Like, I'm starting to develop this little kind of like aspirational outcomes, like become a visual worker. You know, you're with your own personal design library, being able to work faster, communicate your ideas more effectively.
And I think even tying to that, first, you know, being able to communicate your ideas visually. I think like setting this in kind of a broader narrative. I mean, this is what I'm like doing with all my positioning, is like there's so much noise right now. There's just so much out there, especially like, you know, at least this quarter feels like the ChatGPT quarter. It's like, you know, everything is about that. It's like, you know, there's so much text out there, you know, and obviously you can do like generative AI stuff around visuals too, but it's like, if you can communicate your ideas visually, you have a much higher chance of breaking through the noise. And so if you are able to, you know, communicate in the way that really resonates in this moment, you're going to have a competitive edge.
Yep. I love that. That's great. I'm keen to try and nail down this beta, because I think we have a lot of this stuff like kind of brewing. How do we make some decisions for this beta? Because I think we should just do it, because we're going to learn so much about all this. Like, I think I'm coming around. Maybe like I think I was too quick to maybe jump the gun to be like, we should do this in a quick sprint. Maybe you're right. We do this in like 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe it is 4 weeks, 2 sessions a week, one more instructional session, and one more kind of group, like, what do you call it? Like a studio session, like just like making time.
Yeah, I think just the idea of having a little breathing room between the sessions is going to be helpful. That's my only concern about trying to cram it in too quickly.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I think, you know, Jonathan, your idea of like, hey, I want to be able to use Figma for, you know, prototyping or building a website out. If we asked you at the beginning of the workshop to say, hey, come in with an idea, you know, share your idea. We're going to go through some of the fundamentals of Figma. We'll get you like to a point where you feel comfortable laying out pages, adding some of your own content in, and really kind of imagining what the site could look like in Figma. even though like through the workshop, you're learning some different things, maybe you're learning a little bit about presentations and some prototyping, but all of those sort of add up. Would it be helpful if we asked you at the outset, hey, come in with a big idea, or come in with an idea of what you want to accomplish, and we'll make sure that you do that?
Yeah, I think so. Because
you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that the blessing and the curse of Figma is that it's so broad. And so I think it will be hard to like get all the way to the end goal. And so I think in general, just the project examples you give are great because they're bite-sized, but give you kind of those foundational pieces. But I think that directional nature at the beginning gives you the opportunity as the people running the course to know, like, even just like, hey, in this cohort, it seems like everybody really falls into this category. So maybe we can steer some of the things that we're talking about in that direction. But yeah, I think for the course participants to have that reflection and not just come in kind of vaguely saying, well, I want to know how to do Figma. But yeah, I think it'd definitely be valuable to do that.
Yeah, I think there's been courses that I've taken that have asked me for, what's my capstone project? And I just have no idea. And it is kind of a sticking point for me. And I'm wondering if, while it might work for you, does that, it could be a filter too. We could ask people ahead of time, like, what are you working on? What do you want to walk away with? To be able to add that layer of accountability, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think you could include sort of the disclaimer that it's like, this is not a website building course. Yeah. Like, we're not here to build your website. I think this is more sort of, at least as I, like how to work visually, how to think visually. Like, this is foundational design stuff. It is important for anything that you're doing. But I think you could even, you could point to other stuff that you guys do, or, have sort of the, like, hey, if you want to actually build some of that out using Figma, here are some great resources we recommend. These are some, friends of the course that are great. But yeah, I definitely don't think I don't think people should come in expecting to like complete an entire design project under your guidance, because that's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what we should do, so I don't think we should make it seem so heavy when you sign up, but I think once you sign up, especially for the beta, I think in the first week, we should say, listen, we're going to ratchet up the things. In the last week, it's going to be a project week where you're going to learn by doing. So in the first week, you should pick that project, and it could be like a personal design system. If you have your own website, it could be, building a mock-up of a new website you're trying to build. It could be like feedback on a design project that you need to do for work. It could be a slide deck template. And I think in the beta, we'll realize which kinds of those things work better than others. And then we can, like, as we go down the course, I think we can get better at being like, actually, instead of picking any project for last week, you should pick one of these three. It's either a slide deck, a website, or something, right? And like, obviously, if people want to go off road, they can, but like we don't make it feel so like, Nate, who do you want to be in life? Like, yeah. what's your big project? Like, like that's like, I don't know. But instead, we're like, pick one of these. Which one of these three suits you better? And then you're going to do that in the last week, right? I think that kind of is like, still feels safe, but gives you that room to like actually make something. Because I think the making is how you're going to learn this stuff, for sure.
Yeah. How's it going, Lance? Can you hear us at all? No.
Yes, I can. I restarted my computer and I came back in, and it's magic. It worked.
Right. Right. What's your background, Lance? Where are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm director of SEO strategy at an agency, and I just as far as what I do, SEO, and help businesses grow through SEO results. And find out about you guys, and just been tracking and following. And yeah, thanks for letting me join in and kind of being behind the scenes, watching you guys do what you do.
That's great. Do you use Figma currently?
I don't, but I feel like I should be.
You're in the right place. yeah. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, that's great.
I'm guessing, have you worked on projects where it has been used? Like if you're working with designers and writers, probably?
I think most people I've used Mural. I think it looks like it's kind of similar. Mural. I'm trying to think of another one designed in. I can't remember, but Mural's been kind of the primary one. That one, and maybe Miro, Miro as well. I think I've had that one on a few projects too. So I just like being able to put things out like you guys are doing. Just draw it out, lay it out like a whiteboard. So I'm hoping to just kind of see how your brain works and pick up some tips and tricks.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So yeah, for the beta workshop, we're thinking of maybe doing this in March sometime, time frame. And yeah, this is looking.
I think we have the format right here.
Yeah.
We have the 4 weeks. Let's do 4 weeks. We'll do 2 sessions a week. And it'll be kind of project based. We have the rough, like, I think this is enough for us to put a page live and say, sign up. And I think we'll learn a ton going through it. And then I was just thinking, like, I think that each week we should do like, start with inspiration, like examples. Nate using Figma. And then it'd be like, like instruction or whatever, like what do you call these? Like skill learning. So we teach you how to use specific things, and then interspersed with like exercises, like mini obstacle courses where you have to go do something you just learned, and then at the end of the week, and then there's like a project. Now we got some design going. Here we go. Nate's going to work.
These sessions hold us accountable for getting shit done.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan, are you thinking of a personal website or something?
Well, I'm like starting to do some independent consulting, so it's like a personal business website. It's a little, hybrid.
Yeah, I posted that comment, Tom, from YouTube, because I thought that was actually kind of spot on with what we're discussing. Mainly it seems like the need for communicating an individual's ideas are covered better by other courses, but this may do better based, focusing on communicating for groups is just kind of a nice nudge in that direction of how this could be more useful.
Right. You're watching me struggle with Figma Live, Nate. What have I messed up here? Copied your frame.
Oh, and the frame didn't come over?
Well, no, it is. I'm trying to make it just this green button with the boxes around the edge.
All right. So then we just want to add that stroke. I think it had a white inside.
No, but I mean, I want this should be like I want this to say enroll. I don't want the white box.
Oh, yeah, got it. You just want that button. So we'll just, whoops. So, you know, we're just going to take this button out of here. And then do we want those boxes probably around this too?
That's what I was trying to do.
Got it.
Yeah.
That should be best to just delete the green thing and then turn this into a. Caitlin, what's going on?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Pretty good. We're just working out a workshop page for kind of this initial format.
Cool.
Basics.
I'm going to put the Figma file back in the chat, by the way, in case anyone missed that. Just joining. We're going to jump in and either help out or just watch.
To look at my calendar for
Yeah, I don't. Those dates are just placeholders for now. It's just kind of, yeah.
what if we started? When is your SEO MBA course?
I don't know yet. Part of what I want to nail this down so that I can do that too.
What about the
What?
13th of March as a start date?
I could do that. I mean, that gives us a few weeks to
Prepare.
well, prepare and get signups and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, we had the initial instinct of capping this at like 10 people just to do the beta. Oh, hey, Christian. Nice to see you. Christian, how are you using Figma right now, if at all?
So I have done UX design for a crypto company where I led UX research. And so it's helped me in that role, and also building up my personal website and a consulting website called Perfecting Products. But I'm not the best UX designer. I'm a much better UX researcher. So I'm trying to, I think, incorporate, a lot more of the strategic knowledge work like approach that I've seen Tom do over the years. Yeah, that's like, I definitely like seeing how Tom like puts together like strategic like persuasion visually.
I love that.
Great. That's my jam.
I don't know
Oh,
if, you,
hello.
if anybody has been to Tom's website, like even just stuff like this on his homepage, I think is just so, so cool.
Oh, this thing?
Yeah.
Oh, fun little live preview for you folks. I'm just about to turn this thing on my homepage into an interactive clickable version using, you guess for it, Figma. This is an SVG file. So if you export this as an SVG file, you can actually make the links, and then I can just embed it on my homepage. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's an underrated move, exporting an SVG.
Yep. This is why I like working with you, Nate, is because I would never do this little I. This is like some design going on right here. That's what I'm talking about.
Working, thinking, what did we do?
How'd you guys design the enroll button?
Yeah, so the if you were to look at the front, let me just actually enable that button. So the four little squares are just a shape in Figma, and I used auto layout for the button itself so that things can kind of flex. But what these little squares in the corners, I've basically set them, you have to click on one, but you can set the constraint so it stays in the top right. And then basically if you click on the one on the left, it goes to the left top. And so you're basically telling them to stay in fixed positions, even though the layout is flexible. So it's kind of using a combination of auto layout for the button itself and then fixed positioning for certain shapes.
So where is the fixed position within the actual design tab on the right for that specific element?
Yeah, so when you turn something into auto layout and you add in a new shape. So actually, let me share
Sure.
my screen, Tom.
I was going to say, why don't you share your screen, Nate, and walk through? Be easier to drive.
Yeah. Okay. So I can actually just start from the.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just make a new one. Yeah.
So basically, I'm going to grab these two, turn them into using a auto layout in the top right here, and then now we have kind of some new constraints that appear here. Now, if I wanted to add in a little box like this, just kind of make this dark. and drag that in, you'll see that it's now kind of adding to the auto layout. What you can do is click on this little shape, and then in the very top right up here, it's kind of hard to see, but it's an absolute positioning icon. And now once you click that, you can
I've never seen
move it
that.
around. And I'm going to say fix this in the top right, and then I'm going to do that for the other ones.
No.
And I'm going to change this to the left top. And then, and the main thing is that you don't want to clip your content here. So normally this might be clipped. So you're now seeing overflow, and you're fixing these shapes. So this should not sort of stretch anything like you might normally see. So it's kind of how
And how do you make that enroll text? So you just expanded it, right? But the enroll text didn't say fix in the center. So how do you do that?
So right now, it usually defaults to top left. I can just center the text in the middle. And if I click on this text, I could do a few other things. So right now it's hugging the contents, the text itself, but I could say fill the container. And then what's kind of cool about auto layout is you can actually add or reduce the padding. So for instance, let me do hug contents. I can actually say, okay, so for designers who are like, I need 16 pixels of padding around the buttons and I want all my buttons to have the same amount of padding, I can kind of set that here. And so if I were to create a new button, say like this is buy now, I can change this to, let's see here. And basically say, I want this to fill the container. Oops. On contents, there we go. And so this would expand based on the amount of text in here. And then I can basically create a component of this, right? And then now I can just change all of my buttons at once if they're using instances of the parent component. So yeah, that's kind of how, sorry, long story short, but that's how you would do that.
That's cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. I've never seen anyone use the absolute positioning tool that you just showed us. Never seen it before.
Yeah, it's good for like, you know, if you wanted to stick an image inside here and fix it to the bottom left while the outer container stretches like it would on the web, you know, using a div, you could use, it comes in handy for those types of situations. I hadn't seen this used before in this case. This was sort of like, it just kind of came to me. I'm like, I wonder if Figma can do this. That's sort of where that came from, but I'm sure it's been done before. Get creative. What should we add here, Tom?
I won't be there in a second. Creative. It'd probably be like a plus sign or something like about making something, right?
Yeah.
Is a plus sign or it could be like a little cursor with some like motion arrows next to it to like suggest that it's like zooming around. You can tell I'm not a designer. I just need it to pop, Nate. That's all I want.
Just make it pop.
Just make it pop.
Didn't take me long at my very first job to hear that expression. I think also added on that was, you know, like Las Vegas, like a sign in Las Vegas. Make it pop.
I feel like a sign in Las Vegas is actually a reasonable brief, actually, like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess it was for an ad banner, so you're right. That
yeah.
Yeah, what else do you want to know while I'm here? Have you struggled with anything in Figma before?
I'm really curious how you're going to position the line that's curved up by the hero section on the actual website.
Did you do that, Tom, or did we yank that?
We have that on the actual website. Yeah.
How does it flow? Do we have it fixed left?
It is it's absolutely positioned inside a relative container. So we have the H1, and then that arrow just floats to the left. And then on small screens, it just disappears.
Oh, I see a little
Okay.
bump there.
I gotta fix that.
Yeah. So
But when if you go all the way small, it works okay, right? It's just in that in between. So there's still a gap there, right? Okay, I'll fix that. But yeah, if you right click on the headline and inspect element, and then stretch it, so you stretch the screen so you can see the arrow again. Yeah, so so inside that H1, yeah, div class, absolute bendy arrow. That's the one.
there we go.
And then see it's absolutely positioned. So I put it, and then I put some left 20 minus 20 pixels, and that just kind of, that seemed to do the job.
Just always second guessing myself. It's just life of a designer. Does this look good or does it? TBD.
Yeah, I'm sort of cool. Huh? Well, hang on.
Does anybody else get super nervous when they're typing in front of a group of people? It's like my worst.
Just embrace the typos.
Okay, Tom, I actually have to run just a few minutes early. So
We're good. Sorry, everyone, we're just quietly working now. Hope that was interesting. Yeah. All right, I feel good about this. We got the beta. We're gonna ship it. Let's finalize the dates and then let's go.
sounds good. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Appreciate it. See you next time. Later.